Hello and welcome to Talking Live. I'm Dr. Robi Ludwig right here in Starshot Studio in Times Square. And today I'm so excited. We have Wiehl. You know her from Fox News. She is a best-selling author. She has like over 14 books. I think it's like 18. I don't know. The number is really high. She's a legal journalist. She has a podcast. She's on Law and Crime Network. She is just fantastic. But before we learn about her new book, which I'm so in love with this book, which I will get into later. I mean, this book is so fabulous. Hunting Charles Manson. I just want to say a big thank you to TallOrder.com. Now, this is an amazing sock company that used to be for athletes that had huge feet. And now they're 9 and up. They sell them at Macy's. And the president is a huge fan of yours, just so you know.
Wow.
So I'll tell you the story
Okay.
later. But basically, the symbol here is in honor of 9/11 because the family was victimized by 9/11. They lost a husband and father. And they created this company, and they give back 10% to an organization that helped them called Tuesday's Children, that helps traumatized children.
So good.
Yes, it feels so good. And I'm wearing them. So they
Oh.
used to be for tall people, and I'm not tall, and they're just fabulous and so
They
comfortable.
feel great, yes.
So comfortable, and we love that they give 10% to children who are traumatized,
Yes.
and it's just a great organization. So thank you so much. Check them out. We'll have a link, and now I want to get into how fabulous this book is. Oh my God, Lisa, it's so good to see you.
It's so great to be with you, Robbie.
What people don't know, actually, we started a little late because Lisa and I were socializing.
We were
just
kinda
gabbing.
gabbing.
We were gabbing and catching up because it's been a while since we've seen each other. But what people don't know is, in addition to being brilliant, because you went to Harvard Law, and you're so down to earth about it, you're never imperious with your intellect ever, but you're also the most fun person in the room. And we've been at many parties together. I have a picture of us together. And you just always want to hang out and socialize with you because it's always a lively conversation.
We're always having a good time.
And you're a girl's girl.
Well, yeah.
You're a girl's girl.
We have fun.
We do. So I have one picture of us as we go through Charles Manson and all those people. So that's another reason why people should support you and support the book, because it is good. I mean,
thank you.
It was really hard for me to put down. And I have to say, I mean, many people are familiar with Charles Manson,
right?
Helter Skelter. There's kind of this image that I had of this crazy, almost psychotic guy in prison who would make sense, and then it would like turn and you'd be like, oh, he's really crazy.
Right. You'd see him drop in and out of reality in parole hearings or something like that.
But you really go into a lot of psychological nuances in the book, which I
you would love.
Really loved.
Right.
He was a very sadistic man, which I never knew.
Well, he was sadistic. He was also, in his early stages, very charismatic.
Mm-hmm. I think he was charismatic even when he was
even
80.
in later stages, right? Yes, but very peaceful in the outer, looking out, sort of as the women, especially the younger women, were looking, at him. Don't forget,
a good-looking guy.
Good-looking guy. Some of the earlier pictures of him. Some of the earlier
pictures
of
us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're kind of fading in there, fading in and out.
He was a good-looking guy.
But he was a good-looking guy. Strummed on his guitar, had a decent voice. The Beach Boys were interested in some of his earlier music. Absolutely.
Wow.
There's an absolute Beach Boy connection, which I go into. In fact, that was one of the things that got him angry along the way, was he felt like one of the Beach Boy members reneged on a potential contract with him. But anyway,
I didn't know that was part of the entertainment
business. Part of the entertainment industry.
Hello,
exactly. Right. But anyway, he was released from parole in L.A. in '67, and he got a bus, right? And he traveled all the way on this bus in 1967 all the way up the coast to the Bay Area, where he found this Spahn Ranch, where he later was in Spahn Ranch all the way through 1969. On that trip, he gathered like 4 women just along this trip. Teenage runaways, but not just runaways. An insurance clerk, a bank teller. I mean, all these people, a librarian, right? I mean, kind of like quote unquote more normal women, And so I was looking into exactly what you're talking about, like, what was the draw? What was the appeal of this guy, and why they stay?
And fast forward. So we know this is not just historical. And I remember when this story came out, there's a woman by the name of Star. At least that's what he renamed her. And I did not know this before reading your book, that he would rename all the ladies in his life.
Yes.
And Star, I don't remember her real name, but he renamed her Star Manson.
Star Manson, right. Now, Burton, I think is the real name, right.
Now, he was close to 80.
Yeah.
When he seduced she was a teen?
Yeah, 17, yeah. I mean,
so he still had something, or do you think it was the fame of Helter Skelter?
Partially the fame. Okay. I mean, there's sort of that bad boy syndrome. I mean, there are men that are on death row. Scott Peterson, for example, but I mean, Scott Peterson is, he's kind of good looking. Let's face it, he's kind of a good looking guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's partly that. There's the fame. There's something a little wackadoodled. That's highfalutin.
No, that's a diagnosis. That's in my book.
But about the women too, at that level. But there's still something about him that these women continue to find attractive and appealing. I mean, it's in the cult genre that we still find today. And one of the reasons that I wanted to write this book now was so that we could learn from history. Because, it's that old saying of, we don't want history to repeat itself. Right. Yeah. We have to learn from history, right? Lest it repeat itself.
That's right.
And we saw just this summer. Of course, now I've been working on this book now for almost 2 years. So I could not have seen this coming.
Yeah.
The Keith Rainier thing.
That's right.
And Allison
Isn't he
Mack.
in upstate New York?
Upstate New York. Right. They're awaiting trial now. Allison Mack of Smallville fame. You guys remember that, right?
And it's so interesting because Catherine Oxenberg's daughter.
Yes, exactly. How did you know I was just going to say that? You mind readers here?
Well, we're in sync. We've always been in sync.
We all have been in sync.
But you talk in your book about Angela Lansbury's daughter.
Oh my gosh. That is just so weird. I literally was writing an editorial about that, in fact, I was a couple minutes late getting here because I was penning the last words on that. Making that link between Angela Lansbury's daughter and Oxenberg's daughter, exactly that, all these years later.
Right.
That it's not just the topless dancers. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not just the runaway girls. It's also those celebrity girls, those fancier girls, whatever, from the rich families. It crosses all economic barriers.
Anyone can be, I suppose,
vulnerable
to a cult.
Exactly.
If it's during a certain time in your life when you're vulnerable.
Or
who doesn't want to hear fabulous things? And one of the things I tell people,
love you.
And it's a little scary. You've spoken to people who are in prison and you've worked with criminals. And what I tell people is that it's usually the con artists and the sociopaths that are a pleasure to be around. Even in my practice, because they have to be. If they're not nice, how are they going to con you? So I don't know what Charles Manson's diagnosis is, because I think it's probably complex and layered.
Right. And you would know so much more now than they did back then, of course. Right.
I mean, I don't think he fits into one category, but there was a part of him that was a con, and I think probably true of all of these cult figures.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a doctor the way you are. I just have this degree in law, but certainly it would seem, I don't know. I can't give a mental diagnosis to it, but certainly the drawing of these women and the keeping of the women, because the other thing that he would do, I think, again, likened to Keith Rainier, allegedly anyway, is bring them in, entice them, right? Being nice to them, entice them with all of these peace and acceptance and love and what could possibly be wrong with that. Once they're in that, and once they're part of that cult, once they're in the family, quote unquote, then you're in, and then you can't get out. Then it's branding in the case of Keith Rainier, branding in that case. In the case of Manson, it was beating. It was with Leslie Van Houten, for example. I write in the book about this. She wanted to escape. Manson took her to the ledge of a cliff. He said, you want to go, you better jump over this cliff. I mean, you couldn't get out of the family. Once you were in the family, you were in. You couldn't get out.
One of the things I really didn't know was that he was really a rapist.
Oh, absolutely.
I did not know that.
Oh,
I just
absolutely.
really assumed, and I didn't do intense research, but it wasn't kind of out there that he was a rapist. And a little bit, it almost sounds like a sex addict in addition to being a drug addict,
100%.
right?
Drugs,
But,
sex, absolutely.
I mean, you described that he could go and have 7 partners in one day.
Right.
That was.
And drugs were involved. It was the late 1960s, but still, it wasn't. I mean, again, lest history repeat itself, and again, it still is. But we have to learn by reading. I hope examples of it. That if we read it again, like, okay, can we see the signs of it happening again? Where is it happening? Can we stop it so that Manson's playbook doesn't just keep repeating again and again and again?
So do you think there's something in understanding somebody like a Manson stopping a modern day, let's say, Manson?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And I also think law enforcement can play a better role. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you in a couple of ways. One, the parole officers did a absolutely crummy, horrible, terrible, I would say worser words, mm-hmm. But this is a nice family show, of keeping track of him. If they had kept better track of him, the whole Manson murders probably would never have happened to begin with.
Do you think it's because they just, I mean, he was on parole.
He was on parole. He was going from LA all the way up to San Francisco, like I told you about, and getting the Spawn Ranch and having all these, I mean, and then they just, there was something about him too that they didn't touch him for a while. So there was that going on. They screwed up on the parole watching of him. Then, after the murders happened, certainly the Sharon Tate murders happened before the La Bianca murders happened. That was a separate horrible thing that happened. Law enforcement in the LA area, the Sheriff's Department and the LAPD, because of their fiefdoms, their territorialism between the departments, they didn't share information.
Wow.
Much like history repeating itself. Certain law enforcement in this country, mainly in large cities, don't share information with each other.
Do you think that's ego? Now you would understand that from
a lot
legal.
Of it is.
Is it ego?
A lot of it is. I mean, let's look at a sad example. You brought up 9/11 in relation to these socks. Well, we know for a fact that the FBI and the CIA were not exchanging information, remember, back in 9/11. Mm-hmm. And that led to a lack of information and resources that were being exchanged.
I wonder, too, just even historically, and this speaks to your point, denial.
Right.
Was there a case like Charles Manson in California when the police discovered it? I wonder. I mean, I'm sure historically, if you go way back, there are crazy people, but
not
if that
like
also
not like this. No, this changed American culture.
Let's remember, and I want to hear more about that. Charles Manson didn't touch anyone. He did not physically
plunge the knife in anyone.
He did not physically plunge the knife into anyone.
Correct.
It was his family members
that
did.
Right.
And so much like I think 9/11, we didn't think we could ever be attacked.
Right.
So maybe the sharing of information, now we know better.
Yeah, although when you had one murder scene, not to get too graphic when you had one murder scene that had Helter Skelter spelled wrong, Healter, Helter Skelter, but even so, Helter Skelter, which is a pretty strange thing to write, and death to pigs and all this, because they were trying to start a race war. That was a schematic thing going on here. And in two different jurisdictional areas in the LA area, in 2 different nights, very close to each other, and people murdered with knives very gruesomely. Yeah. Wouldn't you kind of think that it might match up together?
Right.
You'd think, hey, Al, better call Frank over there.
Right.
You kind of, maybe that happened.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't want to because they wanted. Because they wanted to keep these high-profile cases sort of to themselves. I'm going to solve it. We're going to get this. We're going to solve it. I mean, it's pretty much as simple as that.
I have to say, just in the book, which I so loved, really, you have to do yourself a favor. And the way you described the first murder scene was so powerful, because this was a person who was friends with his
Yeah.
murderers and
Yeah.
like was in denial and didn't know. So, I mean, again, and the excitement that they all had when when these murders became public, how did it change American culture?
Oh, it absolutely did. I mean, in so stark of terms, the best example I can really give you are things like, people would go away in the LA area. Imagine this, LA area, and this is a while back, but still LA was a big city, and would go away for the weekend and not bother close the door, but not lock their door, right? We didn't have concept of play dates because moms and dads would let their kids run around and play and right on the streets and just be home for dinner.
Yeah,
That'd be it. After the terrible murders that hit LA in those nights in the August of 1969, people went out and they bought padlocks. They went out and bought the fanciest home alarm systems they could buy.
yeah.
They wanted that security. Moms and dads started walking their kids to school. All of those things changed in an instant. American culture, American fear. It just really robbed America of a big piece of its innocence. That family did.
And so we see even prior to his death, which was just a few months ago, he still was using social media. He still has a fan base.
Absolutely. Thousands of followers.
Was he able, and this is why some people are pro the death penalty, because they feel certain killers remain dangerous and sometimes more dangerous behind bars. Yeah. Was he responsible for any deaths while he was in prison?
It's impossible to say that. I mean, it's impossible to say whether he ordered anything or was responsible for anything. It's certainly true that he had and still has followers out there now that are there's certainly people that are interested from a historical perspective and are certainly not dangerous and just are interested in that time and that era from a historical perspective. Right. So they fall into one category. But there are other people that worship him and there are other people that don't think that he did it. That they think he's been wrongly charged and it was a conspiracy against him.
Some people can't imagine how you could be responsible for a crime without actually committing it.
Well, there's that. Now there's that. As badly as I say that law enforcement bungled this case, on the other hand, the prosecutor, Vincent Bugliosi, who took over, there was a lot of finagling about who was actually going to be the ultimate prosecutor, but Bugliosi did a great job in prosecuting this case. And you might say, well, why? I mean, you knew Manson was guilty, and Manson and the other defendants. Well, yeah, but Manson, as we've talked about, didn't actually plunge the knife. So Bugliosi had this pretty much brand new conspiracy theory with him. And now we've got RICO statutes and all that you guys are all familiar with. RICO wasn't even invented then. So Bugliosi had to deal with this. How do I tell a jury that the guy who didn't even pick up a weapon, not only didn't pick up a weapon, he wasn't even there. Yeah. He wasn't there at the scene, either place at the time of the crime. How do I convince a jury that by setting everything in motion, by telling Tex Watson and the girls, by the way, I was at the last parole hearing of Tex Watson. I was the only media representative
that was
there
like?
in October of 2016. It was wild and crazy, but not witchy. It was wild and crazy. Yeah. But by Charles Manson telling that Tex Watson to go do something witchy those nights, and Tex Watson actually killing them, by setting those things in motion, that Charles Manson, should be guilty of first-degree murder. How do you convince them of that? You convince them with the conspiracy theory. Yeah. And he did that, and he did that masterfully. But that was a legal argument to make. Yeah. And as a lawyer, as a legal analyst, I can really appreciate that.
Oh, yes.
But I'm telling you, that was an amazing argument that he made.
Yeah, that was actually brilliant and very insightful, and probably changed court cases.
It really did. He did a really great job. So as much as LAPD screwed up, sorry, they did. Yeah. And the parole.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time they screwed up a major, big national, and this was an international. Yeah, case.
Exactly, international. I mean, what other possible trial could you be thinking of? OJ? Who could you be thinking about? OJ,
right.
OJ, whatever. But yeah, they did. Bugliosi, on the other hand, did a fabulous journalist job.
And you formed a relationship with many of the families, the crime victims' families.
Yeah. I did. Well, going to that hearing that I was telling you about, the Tex Watson hearing, in preparation for going to that hearing and getting into that hearing, like I said, I was the only press person that got access into that. In preparing for that hearing, getting into that hearing, as you know, we, as journalists, as reporters, we try to, get access, and part of that is getting to talk to some of the family members, victims, and the surviving people, and really talking with some of them, and you realize sort of the impact that Manson left on the survivors. These folks have been going. I went to one hearing, right, in 2016, one, and it left a huge impact with me. Made me decide to write the whole book. Before then, it was maybe I'll write some articles. That made me decide that right hearing, I'm going to write the whole book.
Is that what got you to choose Charles Manson?
Yeah, that's what got me to decide I'm going to write a whole book about this. But these people, that's insignificant when you put it in context. These people have been going to hearings for years, and they're in their late 70s and their 70s, and they've been going for these hearings for decades. I mean, and it's taken a physical toll, emotional toll for sure, physical toll on a lot of them. And one of them, in fact, said, Tex Watson said, I should be let go. I should get parole. He's never going to get parole, by the way. I don't think. I should get parole, because I found God now. I've been reborn in Christ.
And some of the women too were kind of compelling.
They were. Well, I don't think Tex Watson is
not
compelling.
Him, but some of. Do you know what they women? I don't remember the name, but
Leslie Van Houten.
Okay, maybe her.
Yeah, more compelling. Patricia Periwinkle. But so he made this. He said, as I'm a born-again Christian, and everything. And so one of the victims' family members stood up and she stared at him and she says, if you're such a good Christian, then show us being a good Christian and don't make us come back here again.
That's good. I love that.
I was like, and I couldn't, as a journalist, I just couldn't, don't say anything. Don't show any emotion. Show no emotion. But I was like, yes.
Such a powerful experience, and such a powerful book. And there's more information that's never been revealed before. And this is the first of a series that you're doing, which I'm so excited because you're such a brilliant writer.
Oh, well.
And I'm also a writer, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, what makes how Lise writes so brilliant? I don't know. I just enjoyed it, and it was like a good friend that you didn't want to put down. You know what I mean? When you put it down, you wanted to go back to it. So that's what this book
great.
is like.
Thank you. That's a real.
And before we end, I have my quick five. Because as a therapist, I need to be nosy.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
That's
what it's all about. Okay.
Therapy. I am on the couch here. Okay.
Not like therapy, but there's a couch just in case if we want to switch. If you could know the absolute total truth to one question, what question would you ask?
To my kids. What did you do last night?
Yeah, we have 2 kids. That's the question. Yeah.
When you have kids, it's like all about your kids.
Right. It's
really true.
It's true. I just assume I'm going to get a lie.
Yeah, but no, you said total truth.
Yeah, total truth.
So it'd be total truth. So it'd be definitely something about the kids. It might not be about what you did last night. I'd have to really think about it.
Yeah.
It's definitely something about my kids that they'd have to tell me the truth about.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What are some red flags to watch out for in daily life?
When somebody says, to be honest with you, let me tell you the truth about it's like,
they're saying that.
Like, well, so you haven't been telling me the truth
that
about the no, I didn't really want you to be honest with me. But all the other times you've been talking to me, that's like, makes you nervous about people like that.
If you're being honest, you don't have to say honestly. You just
I'll be really honest.
Yeah.
Do you want me to be honest?
No.
Lie to me.
I want you to lie to me.
Actually, if I don't really look good,
you lie to me. Right. What social stigma does society need to get over?
Oh, there's so many of them. What social stigma?
I mean, I can tell you one of mine. I think, like, aging.
Aging's huge.
And probably weight,
Those are,
social stigmas.
you know,
Is that different?
I would say aging is so good because you think about cultures like in Japan where aging is, I'm going to go with aging because when you think of you think of cultures like Japan where aging is seen as you are wise.
Yeah.
And you revere your parents.
Right.
And here it's like it's almost a throwaway thing.
Right. Let's move there.
Let's
learn Japanese. It was very interesting.
Let's move to Japan.
So
if Robbie's not here next week,
I'm in Japan. I'm aging in Japan.
We're aging very well in Japan.
We're aging in Japan.
Yeah.
What are you interested in that most people aren't?
Well, finding out what my kids are doing last night.
That's probably true. If you could make
that would be tough.
Yeah.
Nobody's interested in that except me.
If you could make a rule for a day and everyone had to follow it, what would it be?
Oh, I get all the dessert.
You get all the dessert.
Nobody else gets it. No, everybody else. Oh, I get to make a rule for the day.
Yeah.
And everybody else has to follow it.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be about my kids. You have to do whatever mom says.
Yes.
And you have to follow
That's
it.
a good
Kids,
rule.
Right?
Yes.
I get mom, and it's not because they don't do that on Mother's Day.
No.
It doesn't really work.
No.
I get like Happy Mother's Day. What's for breakfast?
I was like lucky I got a gift.
You got a gift?
I got a gift. It was a Zodiac book.
Oh, that's great.
I know. It was kind of nice. I just have to tell you because
well, I'm so kid-centric.
Lisa Friedman Clark, who is the president of TallOrder.com, is a huge fan of yours and wanted you to have this gift and wanted to congratulate you.
That is
and
so
just,
kind.
She is also an activist, and I'm not going to get this right, but JASTA. So she is into trying to get Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, I guess, passed. Oh. So I just think people should know that.
No, absolutely. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, she's a fascinating lady. I love her. I love the family. I'll give you that connection.
All this connection.
Yeah, but she's a huge fan of yours, and so those are for you.
Oh, I love
And maybe you can. I know they're great.
Oh yeah.
And just like even.
And I want to wear them styling like you are.
Like yes.
Look at this. And look at how they go. Look at this. How it goes with my dress. It just goes perfectly
fabulous
with the dress.
Design. But before we leave, we want to tell everybody because you do many things. So you have a podcast that's been rebooted.
Yes.
You are
Pursuit of Justice,
and you are where you get to look at the cases from different perspectives, right? And you're also hosting Law and Crime on Law and Crime Network.
Yeah. So excited about that.
Fantastic. And you're writing many other books. Can you tell us what our next hunting series is?
I've already started to work on the next one, and the next one on hunting series. But if I told you, I would have to put a poison pill in here.
Oh, there we
make
go.
You drink it, and so it's a very, very hush secret. So it's really not worth it.
Let's not do it because hopefully when you finish it, I can read it and have you back on.
Yeah. So you really don't want to poison you.
In addition to loving you, I'm beyond impressed with you.
Oh,
and
Robbie,
thank you for such an amazing book.
It's so great to be here
I
with
know.
you.
And listen,
I'm just so glad to be with my friend again.
I know. It's like socializing. So thank you for joining. Thank you for joining Talking Live. We're going to have a link so you can find out all the information about this book, where to get it. And also, if you share and like the show, we have an extra signed copy that we're going to be giving out. So share and share and like the show, and then you will be eligible to win a signed book. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye.